In September of 2017, then 33-year-old Sean Carter Harris walked into a gas station convenience store in LaPorte, Indiana to grab a few items. Some food, drinks, and some cigarettes. This is not exactly a rare occurrence, to be sure. After selecting his items and getting the clerk to hand over the cigarettes, Harris implied he had a firearm and absconded with the merchandise. He drove away a few moments later, but didn't get very far. Why, you ask? Well, despite all the things he stole, the one thing, perhaps the most important thing, that Harris should have stolen but didn't, was gas for his vehicle, thus making the responding officer's job that much easier when he ran out of gas a short distance away and was found on the side of the road. Upon his arrest, it was determined that Harris, who was a career criminal with a string of arrests dating back to 2012, at least in Indiana, had a blood alcohol level well over the legal limit, although he was not charged for that. He was, however, charged with robbery. His last arrest, again at least in Indiana, was in May of 2022 for robbery and theft of at least $750, but less than $50,000 in value. I mean, if you're going to rob a gas station with a car that is low on fuel, you might as well go all out and steal some gas so you can at least make a decent attempt at a getaway. But you gotta love it when criminals practically arrest themselves through their own sheer stupidity. It really makes it easier on the police and makes it easier to add them to the chosen few. For the entirety of human history, jealousy has enticed people to commit a variety of crimes: harassment, stalking, arson, kidnappings, assaults of every kind, theft, and even murders. As heinous as some of those crimes have been, and they have been heinous, a person can almost understand the reasoning behind them. Almost. This one, however, pretty much takes the cake. On the 25th of January, 2021, in Mexico, a woman named Leonora was arrested after she attacked and stabbed her husband multiple times. When questioned about the attack, Leonora said she attacked her husband, Juan, because she found pictures of him having relations of the biblical kind with another woman. See? That's somewhat understandable, isn't it? Full disclosure time, my son's egg donor, and I call her that because she was never his mother, that honor belongs to my wife, cheated on me at about the time she got pregnant with him. I legitimately wasn't sure he was mine until the day he was born. Since he's my virtual twin and has been since his birth just over 3 decades ago, I can't deny he's mine. But had I found out who it was she cheated on me with and caught up with him, I probably wouldn't be doing this video today. I'd probably be in prison. So yeah, I can understand the impulse. That said, Leonora made a mistake. A mistake beyond seemingly trying to kill her husband, that is. See, Juan did indeed have the pictures on his phone, but they weren't what she thought they were. Juan had found the pictures in an old email and decided to save them on his phone, apparently for old time's sake. But he wasn't having an affair, not in 2021, nor prior to that. Those pictures were older, taken while Juan and Leonora were dating. There was no other woman. Those pictures were of a younger and thinner Leonora. Yep, she got violently jealous of herself. And that's how Leonora made it into the chosen few. Even if you're just a casual gamer, you've probably at least heard of Starfield, arguably one of the most highly anticipated games in a long time. It's actually one of the games I was truly looking forward to playing before this god-awful neuropathy in my left hand, so I get it. I really do. Darren Tyrone Harris, a resident of Tennessee and the latest contestant on The Chosen Few, apparently had that same anticipation. Unlike most people, he was able to play Starfield early. That in itself isn't exactly unusual, because review codes are given to various gaming media outlets and select gaming YouTubers all the time. Such review codes come with heavy restrictions, such as only recording limited gameplay footage, if that's even allowed at all, not putting out story spoilers, that kind of thing. There's usually also time restrictions on when reviews can be published prior to the game's release. Mr. Harris, who uses the online moniker of Memphian94, didn't have a review code. What he had was a job at a warehouse that was being used to distribute the game to retailers. He allegedly stole a copy of the game, recorded his gameplay, and started releasing that footage, roughly about 45 minutes worth, to various online platforms, including his YouTube channel. That video has since been taken down. But Memphian94 didn't stop with stealing a game and just releasing early gameplay footage. He allegedly stole an entire pallet full of copies of Starfield and was selling them on Mercari, an online shopping website similar to Temu or Wish. In an effort to prove to naysayers he actually had the goods, he even posted a video of himself using FedEx to send copies of Starfield to his customers and showing perhaps as many as 40 or more copies on the seat of a vehicle, all while showing his face and bragging about it. Basically, what we have here is another idiot who got himself caught and is now facing at least 2 felony counts. Harris was arrested on August 24th on charges of theft of property between $2,500 and $10,000, theft of property $1,000 or less, and possession of a controlled substance for some Mary Jane. Starfield is set for release on September 6th, with early access and other perks for those who pre-ordered certain editions. Although I'm reasonably certain buying a stolen copy of the game doesn't constitute a pre-order. Just saying. I'm sorry for not putting out more content after saying I was back, but I haven't had much time to record anything. Plus, my entire family has been sick with some kind of chest cold. We've all passed whatever it is around the house. Twice. Because of course. Anyway, I didn't think you'd really appreciate hearing me hacking up a lung and sounding like a 3-pack-a-day smoker. That being said, I have been researching and writing when I can, which isn't nearly often enough, but I did come across a really disturbing story from the 1870s American West that I'm working on for a future video. Today, however, we're not going quite that far back in time. We're just going back to March of 2009, and trust me, it'll be worth it. In March of 2009, John Comparetto, a retired police chief from New York, entered a bathroom in a Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area Holiday Inn to use the facilities. As he walked in, he noticed a man washing his hands at the sink. Thinking nothing of it, he went into a stall. After finishing, Comparetto exited the stall only to be greeted with the barrel of a .40 caliber handgun, held by the man he'd seen just 3 minutes prior. That man demanded Comparetto hand over his money and phone, which the retired officer did. Before leaving the restroom, the man also warned Comparetto he would be shot if he was followed. Now, I don't know if you know anything about retired police officers, but one of their least favorite things is to be robbed at gunpoint. Also on their list of least favorite things is going anywhere unarmed, and Comparetto was not unarmed. Pulling his firearm from an ankle holster, he went after the armed offender. 19-year-old Jerome Blanchett, the offender, tried to make a quick getaway, but failed, both miserably and spectacularly. He was caught trying to get into a taxi in front of the hotel by almost a dozen police officers, who were attending a convention at the Holiday Inn, where there were signs announcing the convention all over the hotel that Blanchett had to see. And no, I am not making that up. Blanchett was charged with robbery, reckless endangerment, carrying a firearm without a license, illegal possession of a firearm, making terroristic threats, and simple assault. Those charges are bad enough, with pretty hefty sentences if convicted, but probably manageable for a 19-year-old who still had the majority of his life ahead of him. Unfortunately for Blanchett, however, he committed this robbery while out on bail for 3 other robberies. Upon his convictions for all 4 robberies, he received a sentence of 52 to 104 years in prison, with the judge saying the crimes were brutal and senseless, and he would personally oppose any attempts at an early parole for Blanchett. Jerome Blanchett is currently a guest at the Houtsdale State Correctional Institution in Clearfield County, Pennsylvania. You know you've made it to the top spot in the chosen few when the judge says he'll personally oppose your parole. We all know some criminals are among the dumbest people on the planet. I mean, this series is all about some of them after all, but I never thought I'd find someone as ridiculously stupid as Jonathan Rivera. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Or fortunately, depending on your point of view. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can find a video about him on my channel titled, If Stupid Was a Person. Go watch it. I'll wait. Good, you're back. Well, let's get on with this video. On Monday, March 28, 2022, The presence of Brandy Jones was requested at the East County Hall of Justice in Dublin, California, after being arrested for stealing a car. That in itself wasn't all that unusual for Ms. Jones, as she had an extensive criminal record by that point, to include at least 2 prior arrests for stolen vehicles. This time, however, was slightly different. At around 11 o'clock that morning, the Dublin police were alerted by a license plate reader that a Ford Econoline van, which had been reported stolen, had entered the city. After some searching by patrol officers, the van was located in the parking lot of the courthouse. Because of course it was. The cops kept watch on the van, which came complete with a punched ignition, but they didn't have to wait all that long before Ms. Jones exited the courthouse after her appearance and climbed into the driver's seat. She was arrested shortly thereafter. A search of the stolen van also revealed some unlicensed pharmaceuticals of the crystalline variety and 2 glass pipes. Miss Jones was transported to Santa Rita Jail, located less than a mile away from the courthouse, so her home away from home wasn't that far away. Her bail was set at almost $58,000. I really couldn't find any more information about this case, but at no time did I think I'd have to do another video about another smooth brain that stole a car to go to court for stealing a car. It is, however, a quick way to bring someone straight to the top of the chosen few.